Right. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Okay. Hello over on YouTube, Beautograph. Nice to see you today, my friend. We did have a question a while ago. There's no timestamps in YouTube, so I don't know how long ago this was or if this person's watching, but it's on the screen there. So I'll say, does anyone know about NTCPal having issues connecting to 2-inch RunCam Phoenix 2? I do not know about that. I would say the Discord or the Adafruit forums are probably the best place to ask. This person, Damascus Industries, happens to catch this. That's my recommendation, is check out those two places. For everyone else, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Deep Dive. If you are new and don't know, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy. Deep Dive is a weekly live stream where we dive into the kind of guts, so to speak, of CircuitPython. It was started by Scott Shawcroft, lead developer of the CircuitPython project. Scott is out right now on parental leave, or actually just recently came back to a reduced schedule from parental leave, but is still not doing deep dives, and so I am here filling in. If you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more at the main website for it, circuitpython.org. It is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. Typically, the way this works, you plug it into your computer, this device, or any of these devices. There are 608 of them that support CircuitPython. Plug it into your computer, it shows up like a thumb drive. You can modify a Python code file that's on that drive, and when you save it, the microcontroller, the actual computer in these little chips here, will execute the Python code for you. That is the super high-level quick version of what's going on. And on this stream, we dive kind of really deep into the code that makes that work, and sometimes the surrounding projects. And in this case, actually, we are over in Blinka land on a Raspberry Pi 5, technically 6, not yet. If you don't know what Blinka is a compatibility layer. This makes it so that you can run code that is compatible with CircuitPython devices, those microcontrollers we just talked about. Blinka makes it so that you can run code compatible with those microcontrollers on full PCs, full Linux computing environments like a Raspberry Pi. What is up over in the chat? Mark Gambler and VP Tech Ops. Nice to see both of you today, my friends. So that's Blinka, that's CircuitPython. As always, huge thanks to Adafruit. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York. They make CircuitPython possible by paying the team of folks, myself and Scott included, to work on CircuitPython. There are a small team of folks who work full-time on it. There are some folks who work on it part-time, and there are folks who work on CircuitPython as well as surrounding things as well. So huge thanks to them. As always, if you want to help support them, one of the easiest ways to do it is purchase hardware from their website, adafruit.com, because that is what keeps this whole train moving. People buying hardware from them allows them to pay developers like Scott and myself to work on open source software like CircuitPython. Okay. So today we are jumping in on, like I said, Raspberry Pi land. We are looking at these triple matrix. I should have probably pulled that up. Let's do that, actually. We could go hit the old what's new here, and there should be pretty close. Yeah, right there. Adafruit triple LED matrix bonnet. This is what I'm messing with today. There are a handful in stock if anyone wants to grab one. But this allows you to connect to your Raspberry Pi 3 RGB LED matrices with a Hub 75 connector. This big two rows of pins. It's 2 rows of 8 maybe, but I'm not 100% sure. To get nice, pretty glowy, rainbowy, wonderful neopixels. Well, they're not neopixels, actually. RGB LEDs. I shouldn't call them neopixels because they're not. And specifically, this new device, this triple LED matrix bonnet, this is one of the new ones. Previously, there was a matrix bonnet and a matrix hat, which was the same thing, but only with one port. This now has 3 ports on it. 3 ports lets you connect 3 panels at once directly to the Pi, which means ultimately you can drive more pixels from the same computer. These things do chain, like up here. So the ribbon cable here is going to the input side here. There is an output side right here. So these things do actually chain. You can connect from the output up to another panel there. So you could previously get 3 panels if you want, or even 4 panels, just by using the one port on the previously existing bonnet and matrix. But what this allows you to do is run 3 panels directly off the Pi I/O pins, which is not what's happening the old way. The old way, you're sort of daisy chaining those displays together. Their refresh rate kind of all depends on each other because all the data is passing through each one. This way, you actually have 3 sort of channels, 3 ports of data, right? 3 ribbon cables, each running their own string of panels. And you can still daisy chain panels onto this, I believe, although I haven't tried that out. So that sets the stage, and then specifically, what I am doing is trying to get this, where'd it go? Trying to get this text scrolling example to work. So there was previously the quote scroller example right here. This one is made for a single matrix, or it's actually made for 2x1 matrices, it says here. So that's the daisy chaining. This one, so this example is set up for a 2 64x32 matrices originally, and I am trying to redo it over here in Active3 quote scroller to be 3 panels of 64x64. But that requires changing up some of this stuff here. So that's where we're at. That's where what we're doing. If anyone has questions about any of that, let me know. I'm happy to answer to the best of my knowledge. So one thing we're definitely going to need to do is the pinout. I suspect we probably want to just grab all of this stuff. So Rainbow Spiral, Active3. This is from, should probably rename this to Quote Scroller Active3 maybe, or else rename this one to Active3. Anyway. But this is all setting up the panel, and originally this was just copied from the original quote scroller, so all of this stuff is going to be wrong. Yeah, in fact, so it's got Bonnet there. We can do this. That's going to give us a frame buffer. That's going to give us a pixel map, which we'll need in order to use this triple matrix thing. This one does have some differences. Width and height are actually total width and height because there's a character width or font width. Text width. There's a text width and a text height, and I didn't want to just have width and height when there's also a specific one, because it makes it a little ambiguous. So total width, total height. It's the place where we copied this out of only has one concept of width and height, and it is the total matrix size, so it just calls it width and height. The rest of that we can probably leave the same, though. Canvas we don't have. I think canvas is going to be the full text. No, let's see. Canvas is going to be the, yeah, I think. Oh, I totally forgot about this shift thing going on. I wonder if we need that still. Okay, single frame image is essentially what canvas is, I think. So the way this is working is, if I'm recalling correctly, it's going to render the text in and then... Okay, this is only actually if you need it, looks like. But it does have it set to 1 currently. See if we end up needing it still. If I recall right, the issue there was like the top half of the text was offset by 1 pixel and the bottom half was offset comparatively. So this code is kind of like a kludge that works around that by shifting the top half by 1 or the bottom half by 1 or whatever. And then you can change it to be a different number if you need to, although I think I only ever saw it off by 1. So we'll see if we actually end up needing that still. I don't know for sure. We need to import this. Another thing I want to look into, this is called Simple Lane Mapper. I'm curious if there's a simple multi-lane mapper. I'm curious if there's a non-simple one. Ideally one that rotates, because I suspect even if we do get this, I have SSH connected to the Pi. The code that I'm editing here is actually on the same Pi that this SSH is on. It's also sharing its files, so I can access it locally. So I can run that, and then yeah, so we can look here. So one thing is, let's actually see it directly with my eyes, so I'm not sure. So one thing is, though, the color I think is wrong. So for these panels, I think they're BGR, or well, let's see, RGB. I think they be this way. Pretty sure it's supposed to be teal. RGB. Guess maybe it's just active 3 without anything. There we go. Okay, that's the correct color. It looks like, well, obviously it's going the wrong way. Not going the way that would be ideal. But that part I expected, but it also looks like it's kind of like overlaid on top of itself. You know what though? I think that's just the camera. And I don't have a super great way to like improve that. So yeah, that looks messed up, but it actually is not as messed up as it looks. But I do want to try to get it going the other way. So that's where I was saying, I wonder about this simple multi-lane mapper. Is that, first of all, is there any other one? And there's not. That answers the first question. But could we use this to rotate? Oh, no. Well, maybe. Okay, let's read this. So a simple lane mapper for 4+ pixel lanes. I'm not 100% sure the terminology all the way. What is a lane versus a port versus matrix versus a thing else, really? Frame buffer width and height is mapped into the matrix where the lanes are stacked top to bottom. Panels within a lane may be cascaded left to right. So I think each panel must be a lane because our panels are stacked top to bottom logically. Technically, this is the top panel, the middle panel, the bottom panel. And I guess we could at least see them all work for a minute if I ran the other example here. There is an, let's see, what is it called? There is a full matrix active 3 simple test. That will light up all 3 panels. I have them laid out horizontally, like visually, but technically within the code, they're vertical. So it's like a tall rectangle, not a wide rectangle. But what I would like to do is treat it as a wide rectangle. By the way, going the other way makes it impossible to read. Yeah, it's through the camera, honestly, it's really hard to read anyway because of, I think it's like a timing deal. I think it's like bleeding and showing multiple frames at once kind of thing. But it should hopefully be a little easier to read if we can get it across the whole thing, potentially. And if not, then like check with my eyes and see if it's the camera versus the actual scrolling. Okay, so we do at least have this scrolling. This does not look like there's anything right out of the gate that helps us achieve rotation. Okay, we have n lanes is 6. Okay, so lanes is, I think, 2 per panel then, right? Which kind of makes sense because I think the panels are like top half, bottom half type thing. The lane must be half a panel, which also makes sense because there are 2 sets of RGB pins. Okay. Address in number address for X and width for lane in lanes, Y address lane times in adder append is a list, which is going to get numbers. Y with times Y. What's that look like? I'm going to print that out. So it looks like it's going to be just a list of numbers, I guess, but they must represent where they must be mapping the indexes to pixels or something. Oh, I'm so used to being inside a TO. Oh, I did not. Okay. Those are basically lists of numbers. And it's not super de-duper. Well, okay, I kind of see the pattern, right? So, yeah. So we're kind of skipping 247 pixel. So it's like 0, 248 actually, 2048, 4096 is double that. Another 2048 on top of it is that. Another 2048 on top is that. Another one is that. And then we start on 1. So then that's going to count up presumably all the way to like 64 times 64. Whatever. And so I don't think that's going to be very easy. I don't think that's going to be very easy to do rotation in. It could be possible. There's a chance it's possible. But I don't know exactly how. Not super sure how that mapping is going. So I think what I'm going to do actually instead is try to rotate this in the Python code, because essentially what we have here is a bunch of like PIL code that's like pasting text into an image. I can definitely just rotate it with PIL. That should be easy. What's up, Yano? Nice to see you, my friend. By the way, oops, that's from a while ago. Let me see. This is reminding me I have 2 still wrapped box matrices I plan to use. Nice. Okay. Let's see. I don't really need a whole. The PIL docs with this. Rotate 90. Yeah, that's easy. I think though, so let's not worry about, well, I have it set to 1 actually. Let's change that to 0 and not worry about it at first. Actually make a difference? This? That either? Okay. Sorry about that. Oh. Did the wrong thing. I can't really tell, honestly. Does not look offset to me, but can't really tell. It's tough to say because it's so small and because of the way that it is crunched at the top and going the wrong way. I wonder, could we slow it down? Oh, surely we could just... Maybe that will fix the sort of overlaying effect with the camera. Yeah, that actually does make the camera happier. Okay. Try to remember to take that back out. So essentially we want to rotate, we're pretending this is the only one we care about for now. So that is pasting into, if I recall right, that's pasting into this one. I don't use PIL enough to know all of the APIs by heart. Box paste. Paste in another image into this image. Okay, yeah. So that's going to paste into here. We're doing full text image. We are cropping from it the crop do. I think that's because basically we're cutting out one display sized chunk from a longer image with the full quote. The way this works is it makes a single long image of the full quote, and then it's cutting out those matrix sized chunks 1 pixel over at a time. So that is what this is doing. So if we just rotated this also, what would happen? You already have crop box. We might need to be using Y values if we were going to do rotate. Rotate, so end of crop, I think we could say rotate, but okay, we could turn that print off also. We don't need all those again anymore. Okay, that is obviously failed. Maybe we should rotate it after we paste? Like, what would happen if we rotated it here? In fact, that would actually be ideal because then we don't care about the difference between these. We don't have to just pretend not to care. We can, like, actually not care. Way cooler. Also does not work. I'm gonna try negative too, just to, so it does anything different. NTSC is typically 60 hertz, PAL is typically 50 hertz to align with mains. Had no idea. Yeah, I think that's probably a response back to our friend from earlier, Damascus Industries. That's going terribly wrong. Analog drone cameras typically output CVBS. I see. No worries. Yeah, I don't know if they're still around. If they are, I'm sure they appreciate the answer for sure, because I didn't know. I don't know anything about any of those formats. My best advice was try Discord or the forum. So, if they are around, they should be happy to get a response. So. This not working, I'm actually pretty confused by. Let me save this. One of the cool things about PIL is it's actually super easy. We could just say, so this is gonna return an image, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's gonna modify. Returns a rotated copy. So this is going to return a new one that goes to here, but it's not going to modify this one. So it's wasteful maybe to rotate it twice, but we could rotate it 90 and then save it as rotated. Just to try to look at what it, see if we can tell what it's doing. I guess it's probably just going to be black though, right? Not going to show anything. And I presume it will be a lot slower. Black. Okay. And just for frame of reference, if we just save it like that, without rotating it, oh, we can't see it on the screen still. Exciting. That part. So, yeah, I guess the thing is we really don't. Yeah, this is going to be wrong. We don't really want to rotate this whole thing anyway. Yeah. We need to not be, we need to use height here somewhere. So X pixel, Y X pixel total. I think this part should be fine, but this should probably be the total height. And then that should be the total width, because those are kind of flipped in our usage. Go back to this so we can see it on the screen too. So it's basically thing, but that's because it's still getting pasted into there. What if we print or like saved this one so we could get a look at it? It's not actually rotated anymore, but I'm just gonna keep calling it rotated. Actually, we could just call it test, maybe. Okay. That part actually is good now. So now I think we do actually want to go back to rotating. We do want to go back to rotating it when we paste it, I think. We did rotate 90 right here, we would basically get what we want. It's not going to be on the display yet, but in the one we save. Well, no, because wait, is from interesting. I think rotate is working how I actually imagined it did. But we don't really want to rotate that. That was right. This is what we want. We just need to paste this onto the display rotated the other way. But I don't, how are we gonna do that if rotating? How are we gonna do that if rotating the whole thing after we crop it out doesn't rotate the entire image, but instead just rotates the text, but leaves it in. Like, we need to rotate the entire thing, not just the content. Well, I guess another one of our problems here is that single frame image is maybe the wrong way around because of these. Okay. Now I think it might be the right size to actually fit on the full thing. Before, I think it might have been getting scaled essentially. Sure. But we still have the problem if we rotate it, it's gonna wrong, isn't it? Well, has no. Okay. So now the only real question is it wider than it's supposed to be? Is it stretched? And it definitely looks stretched on here, but it maybe doesn't appear quite as stretched to the naked eye. Curious if we knock the speed down again, if that gets any better. A little bit, kind of. I kind of feel like it's stretched. Or it's like pasting on top of itself or something. Let's save the single frame. That update? This should call crop, and then on the thing returned by crop, it should call rotate. And then on the thing returned by rotate, that's what's going to get passed to paste, which is what's going to get put into here, which means we should see it in here. Okay. I think it is stretched. I think it might be stretching like from 94 to... Yeah, see, this is still messed up now. Okay, we need to figure out why we're rotating. So this rotates the content of the image, but it clips anything that goes outside. This I think is what we want. And equals true. That doesn't really look any difference. That's like in a different spot, but also not any different, right? I mean, oh. Okay. What if we don't do this? Like, I'm sure this will be wrong. But I want to see what the test... Make one of these. Although that is weird because it says... Oh. Okay. That actually looks correct. And now the problem is that we tried to put it into... So frame buffer... Now the only problem is basically we're trying to put it into a frame buffer that's the opposite resolution. We need to... It needs to get logically rotated again. not broad. So it's, yeah, basically those are just swapped. But test does totally look how we want. But it's right now test is vertical. If I take out the rotate, then test is going to be horizontal. Let me catch up on the chat, by the way. Oh, well, what's the project at hand? Sorry, this was about 10 minutes ago. Sorry, y'all know. I am working on the triple matrix bonnet, and I'm just trying to get it to work with the text scrolling example that previously was made for a single matrix. And the thing about the triple matrix is that they are technically vertical, but obviously the way I have them laid out here is like more horizontal. And if we put these back, it will be broken in a different way, right? This was kind of necessary to get it as far as we did, wasn't it? That makes that work. The text does not look stretched. Test thing is vertical. Okay. So I don't think we want to do this. We don't want to mess with single frame image, I guess. We want to just keep that how it is, and we really... But I'm very confused. Why do we get a different result? We got a different result by rotating single frame image after we had pasted in this cropped image. So this cropped image should have been the only thing in here. We basically got what we want, kind of pretty much, by rotating that. But why did it not work if we rotated here? I had rotate and expand both. So we need expand, because otherwise it won't, otherwise it will run like short ways across the thing. Just well stuck into displays libraries these days. Yeah, I mean, I kind of have always lived in the display world. Really, I think a lot of what draws me to displays is like my background before CircuitPython, before microcontrollers, was mobile, Android mostly, and web, a little bit of web as well. So like making programs that run on displays has been central to kind of my programming experience for most of the time that I programmed. So then when I get into the CircuitPython world, it's kind of like a natural place for me to exist, essentially, is kind of running right back into the display. It worked. We got it. I could have swore that I tried this before, but I must be wrong. And it's not stretched anymore. That's good. Okay. I could have swore that we had this exact code before, but it was like whatever the deal is now, it's not an issue. And it does not look. Let me look at the screen. Yeah. So what I'm not seeing is that offset effect, which the old code. well, the existing code, this code here was trying to account for. And the fact that we ended up having to put this here actually is going to make it kind of a nightmare. Isn't it? Or would it just be as simple as rotate 90 and true there, and then also here? Let's see. I don't necessarily have super high hopes for that working. So let's go turn this back on. It doesn't seem like this is a problem anymore, at least not right now. Pen radius? Not a thing. That was because I copied all this from the rainbow thing, rainbow spiral. Put this back to 1. Broken. What? No. Hope for something different. No dice. Okay. Box mask. Why do we have that? Okay, let me just take this back off, and then does it still crash, or does? Okay. That's actually maybe reassuring in some ways. Expected image got image or none, we got tuples instead. But what on earth could this have been doing? What is paste mask? Why was that like that? Let me look at the old code. That used to take a tuple? Did I mess up a... okay. This, we should not have 0, 0 and this. We should have this instead of 0, 0. I don't know how we got... I don't know how I ended up with another 0, 0 right here, though. Honestly, that part's kind of a mystery. But basically, this is box. We're not using a mask. No idea where that came from. Expand true on it. And not save? I did just erase that, right? Did I not? I did just erase that. Did it, maybe this... I guess the autocomplete must have put it back. The autocomplete must have put it both times, actually. Okay. Okay. You can't really see it because it's on the far end, and my green screen is blocking off a bunch of it. But it's obviously not going the full way anymore, so that we had to fix by swapping width and height in here, I think, right? I have height first and I have width second, which ordinarily would be the way around, I'm pretty sure. Actually, just find that and then paste, copy. But we can't copy, I guess. Probably that one needs to change too. But that one I'm less sure about. It's the worst that could happen. Lower is less than upper. Maybe that last one shouldn't. So we it was height, width, height previously. And now it's height, height, width. Okay, so that should be, that's wrong. It used to be height, width, height. If we wanted to be opposite, it would need to be width, height, width. Width, height, width. Wait. But we also have the... Okay, and that's not even in there. And then height is in the box. So height, width, height, height. So we swapped and we have width, height, width, width. It's even smaller. Now it's half a display. Honestly, I'm tempted to just take this out because it doesn't seem to be needed anymore. Not entirely sure what was causing the offset to begin with. But this never was a super great solution to it, if I'm honest in hindsight. Maybe let's put that one back and get what happened. That's better. Now we have like 1.5 panels, which is bizarre. All right, what is box supposed to be? Shouldn't the x of box be 0? Because so this pastes at 0, 0. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, so that's basically doing like 1. That's where the shift comes in. But that is... Oh. Why don't we end up with the rest? Total. So that should be width. Or did I just have it as width? I did just have it as width, and that's worse. So why is it dividing by 2? I mean, it's dividing by 2 to be on the bottom half of the display, is where it wants to be. But why did, for one thing, why did anything why did changing the Y value of the, let's look at box. This is XY, right? Not XY. Box, image, or a tuple. Oh, I don't want to, no. Not what is a tuple, just what are the values of the tuple when you pass it in. Paste, come on now. The box is either a two tuple giving the upper left hand corner, which is what we're doing. Surely that's XY. And the code seems written for XY because we would want to offset by X by 1. So when I change Y, why does that affect? How does that affect where I get rendered in the X now? Do these need to be swapped because of the 90 degree? These need to be swapped. Yeah. Sorry if we have any like mathematicians or people who are good at geometry watching. If you're frustrated by my problem solving abilities, which boil down to guess and check sometimes, a lot of the time when I work on geometry, but it gets me to there, so we made it. I don't actually see any difference though, which is kind of a neat quirk. What if we make this bigger? And we are basically at time, so I'm gonna be heading out here in just a minute. If anyone has any last minute questions or comments or anything else you would like to get in, now is the time. I don't even think this is working right, honestly. I think we might even be like offsetting the black pixels down here, maybe. We might not even be. Yeah, I don't even think this is working. Honestly, I bet the way this code, so because this is doing total width and total height, this would only matter if the font was big enough to be on both halves vertically of the display. Right now it's like, I mean, J is the tallest letter, and I can't really count the pixels as it goes by, but to my eye, it looked like J was not even halfway down. Everything we just fixed doesn't actually do anything if we don't make the font bigger. Pretty sure. Well, I mean, it does something because it was broken, so I guess get too far ahead of ourselves here. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. Thanks to everyone for watching. If you want more CircuitPython / Python Blinka hardware stuff, I will be back tomorrow over on my own channel. And I am actually around this week. I think I said that last week and then ended up not doing the Saturday stream. But I should be around tomorrow. It kind of looks, honestly, like maybe? Are we maybe? Oh, so it looks like it's cut off right there. So tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, I will be over on my own channel. And I think I'll be back working on this kind of stuff more. So if you're interested in Raspberry Pi, Matrix stuff especially, I'll be back. Okay. Yeah, that's not working. Okay. It's worth thinking though about whether we really want this thing or not, right? Because it seemed to my eye, even when I had this running earlier on 0, it's working fine. There's no offset. Like, the whole reason for that branch of code was because when this was running, the bottom half was like 1 pixel ahead of the top half, or vice versa, one of the two. And so this was like cutting the top half separate from the bottom half and moving the bottom half to account for that. If that's not happening, then there's no need for any of that code anymore. So we might just cut that out. Yeah, right now it's too big, and so it is cutting out the bottom of the G as well. I think I kind of just guessed at a size. If you find a size that actually fits, it should show everything, I think. All right, I will head out for now. Thanks to everyone in the chats. I hope you all have a good rest of your Friday evening. Again, I'll be around tomorrow over on my own channel. I try to post links in the live broadcast chat, which is the Discord channel we have open here when I get started, so you can keep an eye on that if you want, or if you want notifications. Obviously, you can do the whole subscribe thing. I think I'll be working on this again tomorrow, so if you want the sort of sequel to what you just witnessed, then tomorrow morning is where you can find it over on my channel. Thank you again to everyone watching. Thanks again to Adafruit for making all of this work possible. Thanks to everyone who purchased hardware from them. And so long, farewell.